Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is Many Voices of Great. That's impact the right way. Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is the Many Voices of Great. That's impact the right way. Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is the Many Voices of Great. That's impact the right way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Many Voices of Grit. With me, your host, Vernon Wright. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at The Right Leader. And remember, hashtag That's Impact the Right Way. And as well, be sure to follow the hashtag The Many Voices of Grit. And as you guys know, here on the show, The Many Voices of Grit, one of the sayings we have is this: many voices, many faces, all grit. And quickly as well, for those of you that are long-term followers of the show and loyal followers, we thank you for that. And if you haven't gone back and watched the previous episodes that we've had here on the show, be sure to go back to YouTube and look for Disrupt Ed TV's YouTube channel. All the episodes are there, as well as the episodes from the rest of the phenomenal Disrupt Ed TV team. But of course, no episode would be complete without us saying this: pay it forward, share the episode, and make a difference in the lives of those that you know, love, and colleagues that you know would absolutely be enlightened by this episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and say real quick that we search the globe, literally, for some of the best voices and the best folks in leadership in the educational game. And today is no exception. I am absolutely privileged, honored, blessed, and totally grateful for the opportunity to have on the show with us today, Dr. Ryan Jackson. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you see at the bottom of the screen the title that says Fit Grit. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You see that at the bottom of the screen. It says Fit Grit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's learn a little bit more about the man that is the founder of Fit Leaders, Dr. Ryan Jackson. Dr. Ryan Jackson, for those that may not know you, sir, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Vernon. First and foremost, man, honored and humbled to be on the show. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Dr. Ryan B. Jackson, Executive Lead Principal of the Mount Pleasant Arts Innovation Zone. We're a pre-K through 12 STEAM campus in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee, which is just about an hour south of Nashville. I'm originally from Evansville, Indiana, been in education since approximately 2007. Moved to Nashville straight out of undergrad to get a opportunity in the film industry. Produced a feature film in Nashville, sold that film in 2004, and around the time of the recession, got into education due to my passion for writing. So took a job at Maplewood High School in East Nashville, one of the toughest inner city schools in the state of Tennessee, and fell in love with education, fell in love with the school, ended up staying there for a decade before transitioning down here to Mount Pleasant. You know, now my passion has become not only education, but inspiring leaders, educators to live better, lead better, which is the Fit Leaders motto.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love what Dr. Jackson has just said. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, you guys know that have been followers of the show for a long time, that one thing that folks can always say about the right leader, Vernon Wright, is this. I'm going to go ahead and be transparent and authentic with you. And I will go ahead and tell you guys this. And it's one of the reasons, obviously, why you're able to watch this episode today. And it is this: Dr. Jackson really lives and exemplifies the multidimensional and multifaceted aspects of educators. Here you have a gentleman who is well-versed and accomplished in many different realms. And one of the reasons why I thought it was really impactful for him to be here on the show is that there's several of you out there that you're great educators, but you're more than that. And so one of the things that we're privileged to have the opportunity to do is to speak to some of those other things in addition to education, which we all know is very, very important and near and dear to all of us. Dr. Jackson, with that having been said, are we ready to go ahead and proceed to question number one?
Absolutely. Vernon's super excited. Hit me with question number one.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are loyal followers of the show, here we go. You know what question one is going to be. Dr. Jackson, talk to us a little bit about a time in your life when you were going through a situation and maybe there were some challenges, some things that maybe you didn't fully understand. And really at the time it was grit, but you didn't recognize that it was grit at the time. Talk to us about how you went through that and what your reflections were and really what you took away and some of the bigger points and epiphanies from those experiences. Talk to us a little bit about that, Dr. J.
Absolutely. I'll take you back to 2010, quite honestly, probably my lowest point in the 39 years I've been alive. I found myself after a separation that resulted in divorce, literally sleeping on the floor with my Old Navy pea coat as a blanket. It was a complete reboot, starting from the ground up. I was blessed to have a person that I was in my doctorate program with, secured me some housing, and by housing I mean this was a condo that I was essentially being leased at a bargain basement price, due to the fact it had limited insulation. Let's just say that. So I was living in a condo with absolutely no furniture, sleeping on the floor, and realizing, that my life at that point was starting from ground zero. However, I was fascinated with this concept of finding the opportunity in the midst of crisis. And when the slate is wiped completely clean, and really the only direction you can look at is up, you start to recognize opportunities that maybe you hadn't seen before. And for me, one of those big opportunities was a complete recalibration of who I was, myself, my lifestyle. So literally and metaphorically picking myself up off the ground in order to start building a new life for myself. Now it's 2019 now. I've been sober 6 years. So, I didn't quite make the transition into an absolutely sober lifestyle until a couple of years after that 2010 hard ground lesson, I'll call it. But it was shortly after that, I began making the kind of mindset changes, shifts, lifestyle changes, started vision casting, where I could see myself in terms of professionally, personally. But it was sleeping on the floor, man, with a coat as a blanket, and little or no comforts at that particular moment of my life that I would call my darkest time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go ahead and realize something. Of course, that answer from Dr. Jackson is absolutely deep and it's totally authentic. And really, we could stop the episode right now, Dr. Jackson, and folks will totally understand why we have been working so much behind the scenes logistically between our two schedules to get it worked out to get you on the show, because your answer is totally impactful. I want you to go ahead and realize something and take a second to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. We talk a lot about social emotional learning. Those of you in the business know that we call it shorthand SEL. But typically we talk about SEL with reference to students. But here Dr. Jackson is with a degree of candor and authenticity, ladies and gentlemen, that arguably is unmatched in the PLN. And here he is talking about his own story of how he went through his own journey of social emotional learning. And this is impactful. I want to say this before we get to question number 2, Dr. Jackson. Those of you that are out there that are watching this episode, you may be going through a situation right now, a life event like divorce. You may be going through a situation right now where you're being challenged by substances. You may be going through that. And you may think there is no way that I can get beyond this. Well, Dr. Jackson is proof, ladies and gentlemen, that you can do it. So so many gems right now, ladies and gentlemen, that we have absolutely discovered from Dr. Jackson. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, a phenomenal guest. Make sure you share the episode and pay it forward. Dr. Jackson, let's go ahead and go on to question number 2. And question number 2 is simply this. For those that, and I know that there will be many, I'm just going to tell you that right now, Dr. Jackson, there are going to be many. For those that watch this episode and they're really just so impressed by your story, as I was when I first learned about your story, for those that, have the opportunity to see you in person and come up to you and say, hey, Dr. Jackson, watched your episode. It was phenomenal. It was great. Not only did I watch it like 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, because it was so inspirational to me and spoke to where I was in my life. Help me, Dr. Jackson, go through that same process of reflection and introspection and determining what my next steps can be. If someone came to you like that in person, Dr. Jackson, after watching the episode and asked you that, what would you recommend for them to do as their next steps?
Man, great question. And I'm out of this process, out of this journey of self-discovery, of literally picking myself back up. I have learned to embrace the process, and the reality is you can't get to step 2 without going through step 1. So it's day by day. It's setting goals, holding yourself accountable for those goals. But it doesn't even necessarily have to be big goals. We talked about professional, these big personal goals. I'm talking about bring it back to square one. I was having a conversation with a friend last night who's going through hard times and reiterated what I'm about to say right now. He said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and I'm going to get in this workout. I said, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to get in that workout, and then I want you to text me later and let me know how the workout went. Even just the goal of literally the very next morning, I'm going to do this. You want these practical pieces, man. You want these, you want these check boxes that you can, that you can list off each day by day. Progress equals happiness, chasing excellence. Don't be afraid to start small and just say, you know what? I got up today and I was active. I got up today and I did not drink alcohol at all. I got up today and I did not suffer from anxiety because I was overwhelmed with thinking about the future. I mean, even if it is just day by day, one step at a time, commit to putting one foot in front of the other, and then connect with a network, even if it's a small network, 1, 2 people, or if it's a Fit Leaders, #Fit Leaders community network that's got hundreds of people in it. Connect with a network that you can share these small wins with, because really it's a combination of things. It's a combination of meeting and exceeding a goal, no matter how small, and then hearing affirmations from people who are important to you, that are healthy in your life, to again affirm these processes, these steps.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to stop again. And I just want to say this, and for those of you that are followers of the show, you know that the guests that we're so privileged and grateful to have, they're deep thinkers, ladies and gentlemen. They all come from different backgrounds, but I'm going to tell you the one thing that they all have in common. They're deep thinkers and they're deep folks. So if you're fairly new to the show, my recommendation, much so to you, would be this: never watch an episode without something to take notes on, because Dr. Jackson has dropped a lot of information in that answer. One of the things I want to point out is the importance of social support. And one of our previous guests on the show talked about this a lot when they talked about this concept of community. And one of the pieces of victory and one of the steps to victory that you must understand is this: that thing called doubt thrives on this concept of you thinking that you're alone. But when you realize that you're not alone, but there are other folks out there with you that have gone through some of the same challenges, and you experience what community means to you, to your own situation, that's powerful, folks. So hashtag Fit Leaders, you guys see that up there on the screen, as well as @ Fit Leaders. Phenomenal. Let's go ahead and go to question number 3, Dr. Jackson, with approximately about 5 minutes left in the episode. Phenomenal episode. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to hear more from Dr. Jackson, if the views on this episode are good, which really is the #1 sign to Dr. Jackson that you guys love what he has shared today on this episode. If those views are good and we communicate that way to Dr. Jackson might be able to go ahead and come back on the show again. So question number 3, really arguably my favorite question of all 3. For those of you that are loyal followers of the show, you know this. I call it letters from the future. And Dr. Jackson, if you were able to get into a time machine, go back in time and give a letter to your younger self, what wisdom, insights, guidance, and advice would you put in that letter to your younger self? What would you put in that letter, Dr. Jackson? Talk to us about that.
Coolest piece about maturity for me has been being able to recognize the opportunities in the midst of crisis. And that's something that you cultivate. That's a mindset. That's a mindset that you develop. It's a skill. And if I could go back and tell multiple versions of my younger self, to continue to search for the opportunities in the midst of these crises, I ended up developing that mindset out of a trip to China. That's really how the Chinese view crisis, as danger meets opportunity. So the idea is searching for the opportunities that are prevalent. They're hidden. You've got to search for them. That comes from reflection. That comes from communication. That comes from counseling. That comes from mentorship. But being able to go back and meeting a younger me and helping overcome some of the anxiety, overcome some of the fear, some of the doubt, by doubling down on the process of seeking to find the opportunities in the midst of these crises. Hands down, been a life changer for me as I've counseled and mentored other folks and helping them find the opportunities in the midst of the struggles and tribulations they're going through. It's life-changing work.
Ladies and gentlemen, I told you, and I'm the show host, and I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I myself am going to watch this episode many times. Many times. I am obviously the show host, and I invite the guest on the show, and they so graciously obviously accept, as Dr. Jackson has. But I'm going to tell you right now, there is so much information that I'm going to pull from this, and I am sure that you will as well. Ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal answers to all 3 questions. Before we go ahead and close the episode, Dr. Jackson, let me just go ahead and give you a couple of minutes to really just share with us out there, the viewers, the audience. Is there anything you would like to share with us about Fit Leaders or any other endeavor, a project that you're working on right now that you think would really go ahead and be of benefit to the folks out there?
Appreciate that opportunity, that platform. Fit Leaders was really founded on a simple premise, and that's live better to lead better. I've worked in inner city schools in East Nashville, and I now serve in a rural population. So I've had an opportunity to diversify my portfolio, to see education from 2 different lenses. But I'm here to share this. The reality is, when you give it 100%, when you double down on your commitment to kids, to life, to changing lives and communities, it's intense work. It's noble work, but it's incredibly intense. And when you have that kind of mindset, when you have that kind of 5th gear mentality, if you're not careful, it can be tough to sustain. It can grind you down, grind you to a halt, can pulverize you. I've seen it hurt people. Essentially, principal turnover costs the United States education system about $163 million annually just because of that turnover. And a lot of that turnover is due to being able to sustain. When you look at the number of teachers dropping out of the profession, when you look at the number of post-secondary institutions and their drops in teacher enrollment in those programs, it's because this is a lifestyle. And if you are not committed to a healthy lifestyle, it is almost impossible to sustain. So I'm here to say, look, I affirm those that are saying, let's go forward 100%, give everything you have. I just want to caution you to make sure you have balance in your life. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself to sustain that immune system, to put yourself in a position where you can maximize your potential, maximize your health. So again, so you can live better in order to lead better. That's what the movement's about. That's what we do when we connect through that hashtag Fit Leaders. We lift each other up, we affirm each other, and not only hold each other accountable, but also ensure that we're here to be better for our students that we serve.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad Dr. Jackson said that, because we have folks that are out there and sometimes they feel like if I put any attention or put any focus on really taking care of myself and working out and doing some of these other things, that's being selfish. Let me go ahead and say this to you, and this is going to be a paradigm shift for a lot of folks. And I've shared this with many folks that are close to me in my personal and professional circles. So when they see this episode, this will not be new to them, but it will be to some of you. It's not one of the most selfish things you can do. It's one of the most selfless things you can do. And here's the reason why, and Dr. Jackson just talked about it. If you are pouring into yourself and filling yourself up and having the right people in your community fill you up, that just gives you more to go ahead and invest in other people. So folks, you can go ahead, as someone told me one time, you can go ahead and help someone out monetarily if you're broke. That's just the truth, folks. So this is a way for you to invest physically in yourself. And how many of you know that are out there that once you start to make progress physically with your workouts and your diet and all of that together, that it just bleeds over into everything else. It is really a truly transformational change on the outside and on the inside as well. So if you're wondering, Vernon, what do I do next? How can I really become part of Fit Leaders? How can I do that? Go over there to Fit Leaders. You see the hashtag there on the screen, Fit Leaders, @ Fit Leaders as well, LLC. That is Dr. Ryan Jackson's baby. He does a phenomenal job with that. You see the pictures, you see the information, dig into it. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. Let me go ahead and say a couple of things. Share the episode, pay it forward, make a difference with those that you know you love, colleagues that will get a lot from this. And I know that there are many folks out there that will. Share the episode, pay it forward, and make a difference with them. Secondly, as well, of course, as you know here on the Many Voices of Grit, and Dr. Jackson exemplifies this, we have many voices, many faces, and it's all grit. So until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen, as we close every single show, remember to feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. That's impact the right way. See you next time.
Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is Many Voices of Grit. That's impact the right way. Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is the Many Voices of Grit. That's impact the right way. Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow your role. Many voices, many faces, all great. This is the Many Voices of Grit. That's impact the right way. Feed your brain, feed your soul, and absolutely grow